Begin tonight in Dallas County, where detectives are investigating the death of a mother and her little boy.
Seagoville police were called to a welfare check last week when relatives couldn't get in contact with them, and officers found the mother and son both unresponsive inside their home.
Like, okay, one question. Well, I have 5 or 6, 7 questions. What woman you know, what mom you know, okay, pulls up, okay, to her house, hit the garage door, okay, to be open, pulls in, put the car in park, okay, close the garage, okay, and decides, oh, I'm gonna go to sleep.
Ladies, I need to ask you all something serious. If your man told you to keep your relationship secret for 7 years, would you do it? Because I'm about to tell you about a woman who did exactly that, and it got her and her 7-year-old son killed on her birthday. And the man she protected, he hasn't said a single word since they found her body. Not one. Y'all still think loyalty pays? You're on TikTok Crimes. We cover what happens when social media fame turns fatal. TikTok stars, Instagram couples, Facebook influencers. When their posts become crime scenes, we break down exactly what went wrong. These aren't just viral stories. These are real murders, real victims. Subscribe right now if you want the truth behind the trending hashtags, because by the time something goes viral, somebody's usually already dead. Here's what happened. Meet Lyric Backus, 27 years old, living in Seagoville, Texas, and absolutely crushing the game. Now, when I say crushing, I don't mean she was just getting by or making ends meet. This woman had built herself a legitimate empire from absolutely nothing. Her boutique, Lyric's Closet, wasn't some little side hustle. She was running out of her bedroom. We're talking about a full-blown business that was pulling in serious money every single month. Lyric had mastered something that most people spend years trying to figure out. She knew how to turn her personal style into cold, hard cash. Every morning, she'd wake up in that Seagoville house with the kind of energy that made other entrepreneurs jealous. She'd style herself in pieces from her own collection, snap photos that had her followers hitting that buy button faster than they could blink, and ship orders from coast to coast. Her Instagram wasn't just pretty photos either. This woman had over 200,000 people hanging on her every word. And these weren't just casual followers scrolling past her content. These were customers. These were women who trusted Lyric's taste so much that when she said something was worth buying, they bought it. No questions asked. But here's what made Lyric different from every other influencer out there chasing fame and followers. She was doing all of this while raising a 7-year-old son. Alone. And when I say alone, I mean alone. No baby daddy helping with school pickup. No man splitting the bills. No father figure showing up to birthday parties or parent-teacher conferences. Juice, that's what everyone called her little boy, was everything to Lyric. This kid wasn't just cute, he was magnetic. When Lyric would bring him into her content, her comment section would absolutely explode. Heart emojis, love reactions, people begging for more content with him. He was in 1st grade at the local elementary school, doing his homework at the kitchen table while Mama worked on inventory, going on weekend trips that always somehow ended up as content for the gram. The bond between them? Unbreakable doesn't even begin to cover it. Lyric had structured her entire business schedule around Juice's school hours. Pickup time was sacred. Bedtime stories were non-negotiable. This wasn't just a single mother juggling responsibilities. This was a woman who had figured out how to build generational wealth while being the mother she never had growing up. Now here's where things get interesting, and by interesting I mean suspicious. For all of Lyric's openness about her business, her success, her daily life with Deuce, there was one topic that was completely off limits. One question that would make her change the subject faster than you could ask it. Who is Deuce's father? Y'all, I need you to understand something about small communities, like Seagoville, Texas. Population barely pushing 16,000. This is the kind of place where everyone knows which car belongs to which family, where neighbors still wave from their front porches, where a success story like Lyric's becomes the talk of every barbershop and beauty salon within a 20-mile radius. In a community like that, people notice things. They noticed how Lyric always showed up to school events alone. They noticed that there were never any father figures in her holiday photos or birthday celebrations. They noticed that for 7 years, not a single person could get this woman to say who had helped her make that beautiful little boy. And trust me, people tried. Comments asking about her dating life went unanswered. Questions about Deuce's dad got quietly deleted. This wasn't accidental. This was calculated protection of her most vulnerable truth. But here's the thing about secrets in small communities. They don't stay secret. They become whispers. And those whispers, they follow you everywhere. At Deuce's school events, other parents would observe how Lyric always arrived alone. During community gatherings, folks would watch her interact with her son and start making their own connections. Physical resemblances don't lie, y'all. And in Dallas's tight-knit social circles, certain resemblances to certain local celebrities became conversation topics at hair salons and barbershops. The Dallas music scene is smaller than you think. Insiders know things. They recognize patterns. They've seen this movie before. Successful, intelligent women who build their own brands while maintaining careful distance from their children's famous fathers. Women who understand the rules of a very particular game. Now, I can't confirm this because the man in question has stayed silent as a church mouse. But sources in the Dallas music scene have been whispering for years about alleged connections between Lyric and a prominent rapper. We're talking about someone with millions of followers, chart-topping hits, and everything to lose if certain truths came to light. This wasn't just any musician either. This was someone who commanded respect in the hip-hop community, sold out venues, had collaborations with major artists. The kind of person whose image was worth protecting at all costs. And for 7 years, Lyric apparently played by the rules. No public acknowledgement, no family photos, no father-son moments shared with the world. She built her empire, raised her son, and kept her mouth shut about the one thing everyone wanted to know. But here's what Lyric might not have realized. Sometimes the very arrangement that provides security becomes the foundation for your destruction. Because when you live in the shadows of someone else's life, it becomes easier for that someone to make you disappear entirely. February 9th, 2024 was approaching. Lyric's 28th birthday. She had every reason to celebrate. Her business was thriving, her son was healthy and happy, and she'd built the kind of life most people only dream about. But what she didn't know was that this birthday would be her last, and the secret she'd protected for 7 years. It was about to become the reason she and little Deuce would never see another sunrise. February 9th, 2024. Lyric Backus woke up with the kind of energy only a birthday can bring. 28 years old, successful business owner, devoted mother. She had every reason to celebrate. Her Instagram stories that morning showed her usual radiant smile, makeup perfectly applied, excitement radiating through the screen. Birthday girl mode activated, she captioned her morning selfie. The comments flooded in immediately. Hundreds of heart emojis, birthday wishes, love from her loyal followers. Everything looked perfect. Everything looked normal. But here's the thing about that word normal. It's usually the calm before the storm. The morning routine was typical. Getting Juice ready for school, packing his backpack, sharing their usual mother-son banter over breakfast. Neighbors later recalled seeing them leave together around 7:30 a.m., Lyric walking her son to the car, with that protective hand on his shoulder she was known for. She dropped him off at school, waved goodbye through the window, and went to handle some business errands. Just another day in the life she'd built from nothing. Or so it seemed. By afternoon, Lyric had picked up Juice from school. Security footage from a nearby gas station would later show them stopping for snacks around 3:15 p.m. Juice grabbing his favorite chips while Lyric filled up the tank. They were laughing, completely normal, completely unaware that these would be their final moments of joy. They arrived home to their Seagoville house just after 4 p.m. The same house where Lyric had built her empire, where Juice had learned to ride his bike, where birthday celebrations had happened before. But this time, something was different. Sources close to Lyric later suggested that her 28th birthday had become more than just a celebration. It had become a breaking point. After 7 years of keeping someone else's secret, after years of protecting a man who wouldn't even acknowledge her publicly, Lyric had apparently reached her limit. And here's where things get really interesting. According to people who knew her, Lyric had been hinting for weeks that she was tired of living in the shadows. Friends say she'd been talking about setting the record straight and telling her truth. Some even claim she'd been drafting text messages that would expose everything she'd been hiding for 7 years. Whether those messages were actually sent on February 9th, we may never know, because conveniently, Lyric's phone records from that day have never been made public. But what we do know is that between 4 p.m. when they got home and 8 p.m. when friends started getting worried, something happened in that garage. Something that would silence Lyric forever. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you went 4 hours without checking your phone? Without responding to a text? Without posting on social media? On your birthday for matter? I mean, I might get not responding, but at least coming online to see what's happening on that special day of yours. Because that's exactly what happened with Lyric. And for a woman whose entire business depended on staying connected, that should have been the first red flag. By 8 p.m., her best friend Jessica was calling repeatedly. By 9 p.m., family members were texting frantically. By 10 p.m., panic had set in. Lyric never missed important calls, never went silent on her birthday, never left people wondering where she was. At 11:47 p.m., Jessica made the call that would change everything.
Begin tonight in Dallas County, where detectives are investigating the death of a mother and her little boy.
Seagoville police were called to a welfare check last week when relatives couldn't get in contact with them, and officers found the mother and son both unresponsive inside their home.
Janelle Ford just spoke with some of their neighbors and joins us live in Seagoville with what she's learned.
Well, Chris and Izzy, overall, this is just a very sad situation. The neighbors tell me that the mother and son were found dead in the garage of this home. You can see where someone's come and placed flowers out front. And tonight, investigators are working to learn exactly what happened. First, you hear the screams. Then moments later, you see the first responders. They're heading 2 doors down to this home where 27-year-old Lyric Backus and her 7-year-old son Deuce were found dead in the garage.
It was just mayhem. Everybody out here crying, screaming. The cops was out here, they taped it off.
Backus's family believes the pair died from carbon monoxide poisoning. Police are waiting on autopsies before confirming.
Now here's where things get real interesting. And I need y'all to start asking the same questions I'm asking. Because what happened next doesn't sit right with me. And it shouldn't sit right with you either. The police response was swift and decisive. Carbon monoxide poisoning. Tragic accident. No foul play suspected. Case closed. Hold up. Case closed? Already? Let me get this straight. A successful businesswoman and social media influencer dies under mysterious circumstances on her birthday, along with her child, and we're supposed to believe that's just an accident? No investigation into who might have wanted them gone? No looking into whether someone could have trapped them in that garage? No questions about why they were even in there in the first place? Yo, I've covered enough cases to know that when the police close a case this fast, especially one involving someone with alleged connections to celebrity circles, somebody made a phone call, and that somebody has influence. But here's what really gets me heated. The details they didn't release. No mention of how long the car had been running. No explanation for why a successful businesswoman and her young son would be sitting in a garage with a running car on her birthday. No discussion of whether the garage door opener had been tampered with. The timeline remained frustratingly vague. Medical examiner's office refused to provide specifics. Even more troubling? The complete absence of any mention of witness interviews. In a residential neighborhood where houses sit close together, nobody heard a car running for hours. Nobody noticed anything unusual. And here's the million-dollar question. In 2024, cameras are everywhere. Doorbell cameras, security systems, traffic lights. Yet not a single piece of video evidence was released showing Lyric's final day. Ladies, when evidence disappears this fast and cases get closed this quietly, that usually means someone with money and power made sure it happened that way. Someone who had everything to lose if the investigation went too deep.
So listen, you guys, I just have something on my mind real quick, and I just need to get it off of my chest. So I'm on TikTok, okay, minding my business, being nosy like I always do, okay, and I see Yellow Beezy. They have, the little video about his baby mama and stuff like that, right? And I was like, darn, I remember hearing something about that. But as soon as I scroll on it, I heard alert, alert, alert. Now I do have discernments, okay? I am very good at what I do, okay? So I'm like, okay, let me read the comments and see what they talking about. So they was like, why you got Yellow Beezy name up there? He ain't had nothing to do with it. So I'm like, okay, all right. So they was talking about, yeah, because she passed away in the garage. Now, I do not want to say her name because I do not want her to be visiting me, trying to tell me what happened to her when I'm trying to handle my business, okay? So I'm like reading, they was like, yeah, she was in the garage and this, that. And I was like, in the garage and just fell asleep. Then I was like, okay, one question. Well, I have 5 or 6, 7 questions. What woman what mom okay, pulls up, okay, to her house, hit the garage door, okay, to be open, pulls in, put the car in park, okay, close the garage, okay, and decides, oh, I'm gonna go to sleep. Now the son is old enough to speak, okay, and I'm sure he would have been saying, Mom, come on, let's go. Let's go in the house. Wake up. Okay. Even if he was asleep in the car, you know the first thing you want to do is get them kids in the house. You want to get them in the house. You want to bathe them, get them whatever, how y'all do. Okay? So I just have a question. What y'all think about that? Because I just feel like y'all sweeping up under the rug too easy for me. Okay? It sounds easy, don't it? It sounds like the perfect, but it don't make sense to me. Just help me out. So you as a parent, your kids in the car, you don't mind. You open, you do all these steps. Do. These are steps that has to be done. Okay? Please don't tell me she back then. Okay? I'm just saying. All these steps that has to be done. Open the garage. Put the car in park. Close the garage. And you decide to snuggle in the front seat and be like, because I want to get in my bed. I don't know.
But you know what the most telling part of this whole situation is? The professional silence that followed. While Seagoville mourned, while the community demanded answers, while Lyric's friends organized vigils and asked hard questions, the alleged father of her child? Radio silence. Not a tweet, not an Instagram story, not even a generic RIP post. Nothing. Now I want you all to think about this for a second. If someone you'd allegedly been connected to for 7 years died under mysterious circumstances, along with a child who might be yours, what would your reaction be? Even if you had to keep the relationship private, wouldn't you find some way to acknowledge the loss? But this man couldn't even manage that. And the more I think about it, the more I realize that silence isn't just suspicious, it's calculated. Because when you say nothing, you can't be quoted. When you don't acknowledge someone publicly, you can't be connected to them legally. The community wasn't buying it though. But questions don't matter when the case is already closed and the people with answers aren't talking. The aftermath hit Seagoville like a shockwave. Within hours of the discovery, funeral arrangements were being made for a joint service. Mother and son together, just as they were found. But here's what raised eyebrows throughout the community. According to some sources, someone with deep pockets allegedly stepped forward to cover all expenses. Now, who do you all think that benefactor might have been? And more importantly, why would someone pay for a funeral but not show up to it? Because that's what was rumored to have happened. The community gathered to say goodbye to Lyric and Deuce. Hundreds of people showed up. Friends, customers, neighbors, fellow entrepreneurs. The church was packed with people whose lives had been touched by this mother and son. But guess who was nowhere to be found? Go ahead, take a wild guess. Social media exploded with tributes and questions. Instagram stories flooded with memories, theories, and demands for answers. The influencer community, particularly Black women entrepreneurs, rallied together. They knew the struggle of building something from nothing while protecting your child. Their posts weren't just tributes, they were battle cries. Justice for Lyric started trending locally. Remember Deuce followed close behind. But for every post demanding answers, there was a corresponding silence from the one person everyone expected to hear from. The theories came fast and relentless. Some people pointed to carbon monoxide as the silent killer it's known to be. Car malfunctioned, tragic but explainable, they argued. Others suggested Lyric couldn't handle some unknown pressure we didn't know about. But the theory that wouldn't go away, the one that had people talking in barbershops and beauty salons across Dallas, that this was no accident, that someone with everything to lose had finally decided Lyric knew too much. Now let me talk about something that's been eating at me since I started researching this case. When tragedy strikes, when innocent lives are lost, when a community mourns, we expect those connected to step forward. We expect statements. We expect presence. We expect basic human decency. But in the case of Lyric Backus and Little Deuce, the man allegedly connected to their lives chose a different path entirely. Complete and total silence. And y'all, that silence is loud. Legal experts understand the strategy, right? When you're potentially connected to a high-profile death case, even tangentially, your attorney's first advice is simple. Say nothing. Every word can be dissected, analysed, used against you in ways you never anticipated. But this wasn't just any case. This involved a 7-year-old child who may have been his own flesh and blood. This involved a woman who had allegedly kept his secrets for 7 years. 7 years of loyalty, 7 years of protection, 7 years of building her life around keeping his comfortable. And when she dies under mysterious circumstances, when the community is crying out for answers, when Little Deuce, who might carry his DNA, is being lowered into the ground, not one word. The pattern here isn't unique though, and that's what makes it so infuriating. We've seen it before in the entertainment industry. When scandal threatens, when questions arise, when accountability comes knocking, the walls go up. Publicists craft carefully worded statements. Lawyers issue cease and desist orders. The celebrity machine protects the brand at all costs. Here's what keeps me up at night about this case, and what should keep you all asking questions in these comments. If this truly was just a tragic accident, why not offer support to the grieving community? Why not honor the memory of a woman who had allegedly been part of your life? Why not acknowledge a child who may have carried your DNA? The questions multiply with each passing day. Was this silence guilt? Was it legal strategy? Was it simple indifference? Or was it something much more calculated? The final act of a man who had spent 7 years treating a woman and child like they were disposable. And let's talk about those text messages that apparently never got released. Because you know there had to be communication between Lyric and this alleged father. 7 years of relationship doesn't happen in complete silence. But more importantly, sources close to Lyric claim she'd been drafting messages in the weeks before her death. Messages that would have exposed everything she'd been keeping secret. Friends say she was tired of living in the shadows. Tired of protecting someone who wouldn't protect her back. And on her 28th birthday, she may have finally decided to hit send on those messages that could have destroyed his carefully crafted image. But here's the million-dollar question. If those messages were sent, where are they now? Why haven't Lyric's phone records from February 9th ever been made public? What happened to the evidence that could have shown us exactly what she knew and who she was threatening to expose? The investigation wrapped up faster than a drive-through order. But the questions linger. Who benefits from keeping this case closed? Who had the influence to make sure certain evidence never saw the light of day? And why was the community's demand for answers met with such institutional silence? So here's my final question for y'all, and I want honest answers in the comments. When you look at this case, the mysterious circumstances, the rushed investigation, the calculated silence from someone who allegedly shared 7 years with this woman, what do you see? Do you see a tragic accident? Or do you see what happens when loyalty flows in only one direction and secrets become more valuable than lives? Drop your theories below. Subscribe and hit that notification bell, Because cases like this don't get solved by staying quiet. They get solved by communities like ours who refuse to let the truth stay buried. Lyric, Backus and Deuce deserved better. They deserve the truth. And until we get it, their story will continue to be told. Because when powerful people think they can make problems disappear, it's up to us to make sure those problems stay visible. What really happened in that garage on February 9th, 2024? The official answer is carbon monoxide poisoning. But the real answer, that's still out there, waiting for someone brave enough to speak up. Your move, Dallas.
If I had wings like a dove, then I would fly away, and I would be a